The clown in this movie in his full form might be scarier than Art the Clown. Let's do it. Clown is about this family that consists of Kent McCoy, who's a real estate agent, his wife Meg, and they're throwing a birthday party for their young son Jack. Kent is on his way home for the party when Meg calls and tells him that the clown has canceled, and Jack has an obsession with clowns, so like they need a clown. So Kent is in one of the houses that he's selling, and he finds this old chest in the basement, and he finds this clown costume inside, and he's like, this is perfect. So he puts it on, shows up, does his whole thing as a clown. All the kids are super happy. That night, Kent falls asleep wearing the clown costume, and when he wakes up the next morning, he literally cannot get it off. He's trying to pull off the nose, the wig, and it's just attached to him. He brings Jack to school and then continues to try to remove the costume and goes so far as to take a power saw to the sleeve, and he just cuts himself. Like, the thing will not come off. When Kent gets home that night, he and Meg kind of laugh about it, and she takes some of her surgical tools because she works at a dentist's office and tries to remove the nose. But when she does, it rips off a piece of his actual nose, and their dog eats that with the clown nose. Meg also looks closer at Kent's hair and is like, did you dye your hair? Like, this is at the root. This is not a wig. And then Kent starts to realize that he's really hungry. He literally like ravages the kitchen and eats everything in sight. Eventually, Kent looks at the listing of the house that he found the chest in and finds the name of the guy Bert Carlson who's selling it. And when Kent starts to tell Bert about the costume, Bert is like, whatever you do, don't touch it, don't go near it, I'll come meet you. And Kent's just like, I'm wearing it, brother. So Bert's just like, haha, that's totally okay, just come meet me at my warehouse. Once he gets there, he pulls out this book that has these like demonic ancient drawings of this clown. And Bert explains to Kent how before the clown was like a children's entertainer, it was the Cloyne. It was this demonic entity that lived in the snowy lands of Iceland, and that's why it has this pale white skin and this red nose, because it's blistered from the cold. And in the winter, the Cloyne would lure children into its lair and eat them, 5 children, 1 for each month of winter. So Bert gives Kent some tea, which actually is drugged, and Kent passes out, and when he wakes up, he is strapped to a table. Bert is like, I'm sorry, but decapitation is the only way to kill this thing. Kent manages to escape, at which point Bert tells him, what you're wearing is not a clown suit, it is the skin and hair of a demon. Kent ties up Bert and throws him in his car to drive him to the police station for trying to kill him. As he's driving, his finger and toenails start to grow excessively, which causes him to push on the gas pedal and he crashes the car. Bert is injured, but before he goes unconscious, he tells Kent to kill himself, and it's the only way. Kent runs off into the forest where he encounters a Boy Scout campsite, and his stomach growls as he begs one of them for food, and he goes to give it to Kent, but Kent bites the kid's fingers off instead. So at this point, Kent realizes that what Bert said is true, and he goes to one of his properties so he can himself. He calls his wife to apologize and say goodbye, and then he puts a gun to his head and pulls the trigger. But instead of blood, this rainbow shit comes out, and Kent is fine. He realizes Bert is right. Decapitation is the only way. So Kent rigs up this contraption with 2 saw blades to try and decapitate himself. But as he goes to do it, this little boy Robbie, who is next door, walks in, and Kent falls the wrong way, and the saw like shoots out and kills Robbie. Kent, no longer able to control his urges, eats Robbie's body. Meg ends up finding Kent and begs him to come home, which he does on the condition that Meg will tie him up in the basement. So she does that, but then she leaves and their son Jack comes home early. Kent calls for him, so Jack goes down to talk to his dad, and he tells Jack about Colton, who is this kid who's bullying him at school. And Kent convinces Jack to untie him, which he does, because he has no fucking idea what's going on. Kent proceeds to go to Colton's house and kill and eat him. That's what you get for bullying, kids. Meg comes home to find that Kent is gone, and also find that their dog has become super aggressive and attacks her. Before he can get to her, Bert shows up and decapitates the dog, because it turns out when the dog ate the piece of the nose, he also became possessed. Now at this point, Meg has looked through Bert's book and has discovered that the reason he knows so much about this shit is because he once had the costume on himself. He tells Meg that his brother used to be a doctor in a children's hospital, and he found the clown suit and put it on to go entertain them. But when they realized what was happening, he blacked out, and when he woke up, the suit was off. And he found out that his brother fed him 5 children who were close to death, so it beat the curse. They weren't able to destroy the suit no matter what they did, which is why they locked it away. At this point, Kent is almost in full demon form, and they track him down to this local arcade where there is a fucking birthday party happening. and he attacks and eats two children, which obviously causes an absolute panic and everybody runs out. So Meg and Bert find Kent, and Bert tries to decapitate him, but Kent fights him off. Meg tries to speak to Kent, who is really no longer Kent, and just asks what she can do to stop this. To which the clone says, "Feed me a child. And if you don't find me my fifth and final child, I will eat Jack." So the police show up and arrest Bert, thinking he's the one that killed the kids because they find him with an axe. Outside in the chaos, this little girl approaches Meg, having recognized her from the dentist's office, and is like, "I can't find my mom. Can you please give me a ride home? I'm scared." So Meg takes this little girl to the place where the clone told her to meet her with the child and locks her out of the car. The clone doesn't immediately attack, and Meg regrets it and tries to get the girl to come back in the car. And at that point, she realizes that the demon tricked her and is going after Jack. So Meg goes home and finds her father there, who the clone immediately kills by ripping his jaw off. And the clone corners Meg, and at this point, the demon can smell that Meg is pregnant. The clone tries to take the child from Meg's stomach, but then Meg yells for Jack to run, which reminds the clone apparently of what he's supposed to actually be doing. So the clone chases Jack down to the basement and Meg follows. And before he's able to hurt Jack, Meg wraps a chain around its neck, the same one that she had used to tie Kent down there earlier. Meg at this point is still trying to talk to the clone like it's Kent, and it's Jack that snaps her out of it and is like, "Mom, Dad is not there. That is not him." And then the clone lunges at Meg, who proceeds to knock its head off with a sledgehammer. But it's a fake out because it turns out there's still a muscle attaching the head, so it reaches out to grab Jack's leg, but then Meg actually decapitates it. Meg and Jack watch as the demon's skin and hair melts away and reveals Kent's body. Sometime later, we see that Kent's body is in the morgue for an autopsy, and in evidence bags is the clown suit, still very much intact and ready for its next victim, and the movie ends. Couldn't really show you the full clown form, by the way, because it's kind of graphic, but it looks like this.